Mr. Levon, we have a quorum. Mr. Johnson had to be out tonight. His son is getting married in Nashville, and so his wife kind of insisted that he show up. And so he will be out, but the rest, everybody else is present. We have to do approval of agenda with additions and deletions. I would tell you that I would like the board to pull all the consent agenda items out, and we will discuss them as individual resolutions, because I think there's going to be some questions from you on some of those. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then I would ask that you look at the three resolutions that you received tonight. And we need to add them to the agenda. That will be 49, 50, and 51. So if you would consider those, do we have any other things that we need to consider?
I would like to add mosquito abatement.
Okay, good, yeah.
And I can talk about that during my comments, if that's okay with y'all.
Yeah. It is to me. Okay. Anything else? I'll take a motion when you're ready.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve the agenda?
As amended.
As amended, excuse me.
Yes.
Second from Mr. Fisher. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move along then. I'll ask you to read the minutes from previous meetings. A, the regular meeting on March 16th, 2023. I'll take a motion when you're ready.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor Wiggins. Have a second from Alderman Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll ask you to move to special meeting March 28th, 2023. Take a motion when you're ready.
Motion.
You have a motion from Mr. Cates.
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Wiggins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, at this point in our meeting, we're going to have citizens' comments. These comments are open for any Oakland citizen to be heard on items and concerns not included on the agenda. Citizens are able to be recognized by the chair and to come to the front room before speaking. Each citizen shall state their name, address for the record. The mayor and the board of aldermen shall make no decisions or considerations of actions on citizens' comments, except to refer to the town manager for administrative consideration or at a later date. Speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes, and unless allowed by the chair, they should be limited to one subject. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak tonight?
I got a question. Did you do the minutes for the special call meeting on April the 6th?
Okay, hold up just a second, Mr. Case. Sir, give me just a second. I got a late question here. Now, and you just stand right there.
Did we okay the minutes for the special call meeting on April the 6th?
We did not.
We do not.
I can bring that back next month.
They're not on the agenda. We have not. No, sir. You're correct. If we need, would you please bring that back next month, Mr. Yvonne? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Case. Okay, sir, come up, state your, to the podium, state your name and where you live, please.
My name is Oscar Etheridge. I live at 515 Pike Creek Road. I've got a concern. First off, do we have a city ordinance that addresses vehicles parked on a city street or in a neighborhood for prolonged periods of time, like we could do?
Mr. Rex,
It's police.
That's legal.
please, okay. Chief?
And the reason I'm asking is,
There's Larry.
Is there one there?
Not for a prolonged period of time, as long as the vehicle's in working order, properly tagged, tires inflated.
Operating vehicle.
and here's the reason for why. On Black Ankle, it's kind of crooked. Well, there is a vehicle that's been sitting in the same spot for at least 2 weeks, and I've noticed it over a period of time, but I've never started paying attention to it. It's backed up. There's a sign that says autistic children or autistic child area, and it backs right up to it. Well, the other day I was going to down to the post office, and people were doing yard work, and I had to stop and let other cars go through because your spot's blind. So I think we need an ordinance that the vehicle cannot sit on a public street for over 24 hours during the weekend, on the weekends for 48 hours. A very simple something that the police can enforce, because this truck's been sitting there for weeks. I mean, I got pictures I can show you, and it's not in the man's driveway. He's got a three-car garage, a detached garage, and his driveway's empty, but the truck's parked down the street.
Okay,
I got pictures if you'd like to see.
okay, I can understand what you're trying
I
to
can
say.
attest to what he's saying, it's just two houses.
Okay,
down from
what I would like you to do tonight, and if the board so chooses to bring that forward, they can do so at a future, it'll have to be done at a future date. But tonight, would you please see Chief Gaines Larry back there, and, just kind of give him the information. Chief, would you check to see if it's a safety hazard?
Yes.
And because we can act on it if it's a safety hazard.
Thank you.
Okay. You do that, I'd appreciate it. Anybody else wish to speak tonight?
That's Wade Brown, 120 Countrywood. I would just like to know who's in charge of our garbage system?
We have a contractor with a garbage system, sir. We have a contractor that does the garbage. If you have concerns, you can notify the city hall here, and they will relay them to the garbage company.
Well, they told me to come up here and speak tonight.
Okay?
Because, I mean, I had sticks sitting in front of our limbs that blow down from the storm, sitting in front of my house. And I even went out there and asked the garbage truck driver, before I drug it out there, if I could put it out there, if they would pick it up, and he said yes. And then it sat there for a month, and nobody picked nothing up, and I had to get a trailer, load it up, take it to the dump. You know, I mean, I don't understand why our garbage service was so good, now it's horrible.
I can't disagree with you, sir.
I mean,
You know, I understand what you're
well,
trying to say.
Can somebody do something, or are we just gonna
Well,
have horrible garbage service?
what I will say to you is this, and you will hear it further tonight. The, garbage company has notified us they're not asking for an extension of their contract, so we will be rebidding it to start after the first of the year.
Well, whoever's in charge of making the deal, make sure they get debris pickup versus just a can.
All right, sir.
You know, because, I mean, I know it's years ago, but when we first moved out here, it was $8 a month for 2 times a week, and anything I want to put on the street.
Yes, sir.
Now it's 15 for once a week,
Okay.
and I don't even know if they're gonna show up then, you
Okay.
know, so that's where I'm at.
Sir,
I'm just-
I
I'm just
understand what
loyal.
you're saying. I understand what you're saying. You have to, we are trying our best, and we will work with it. Harvey, does our knuckle boom truck pick up stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay. If in the future, if you put mass amounts of limbs and stuff out there that can't be put in a sack and set by the garbage, if you will call Public Works, ask for Mr. Harvey there, I think he can help you.
Think you have it? Well, I mean.
Won't
right now-
guarantee it, but I think he can.
Well, when is that gonna start? Because there's still, my neighbor who doesn't have access to a trailer still has limbs all in his street, and just like he
It
was
can
saying.
start in the morning,
It's
sir.
it's
Just-
almost a danger zone. The cars can barely get through there.
In the morning, have your neighbor call up here and ask to speak to Mr. Harvey, and we'll try to help you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? I've got my collar on tonight, and I'm feeling real generous. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, sir. Both comments were legitimate, and I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. All right, moving on. Under my comments, want to notify the board I have reappointed Christina Hall and Hayes Laughlin to the Planning Commission for another 4-year term. I am still looking for anybody that's interested in serving on the Parks and Rec Board. If anybody's interested, please let us know. Mr. Westman, Chris, Chase, where you at? I'd like to introduce Chase Westman. He is our new Parks and Rec Director. I want to introduce him to the board. He'll be talking a little later on, but at this point, I wanted to introduce him to the community and to the board.
Sir, thank you.
Glad to have you.
Yes, sir, I appreciate it.
All right, that is the end of my comments. We'll move over and to Alderman comments. I will start with Mr. Sutton on the end down there. Mr. Sutton.
So the mosquito basement, I'm not sure if we still have money in our budget for the year to the end, but I do think if we do, we need to contact and get an early spray this year and try to get on top of it.
I agree.
And so if Mr. Harvey, if you could check on that for us, I'd sure appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Other thing I'll address since the man brought it up, the people, Mr. Harvey, I know you remember that autistic child, but them people moved
Where's that?
on Black Ankle where there's two signs, one coming in, one going out.
Yeah.
The people that had the autistic child had moved, if y'all wanna get them put up where, if they didn't know, they moved into county too, so that's probably why you hadn't heard from that.
Okay, I'll do that.
And then I was just gonna say to the man that come here and spoke, sir, I've been saying for over a year, they've been doing their best to get fired. They really have, and they were almost $5 under the other bid. The company that they beat on the bid bought them, they're owned by the same people now. And he told me last month, after the meeting, that they were bidding DeSoto County right now. If you've seen the news, if you haven't, Google it. But they're having trouble out of another company, so they're bidding that job, and he said that their bid would be $25 or more per can. Ours is not $12. So it's been a battle, but I'm gonna tell you, you're one of hundreds of people complaining about that garbage. Mine, I think they were 2 days late this week. But I really think they're trying to get fired. I don't see any other explanation for why they do that. But that's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Cates? Ms. Hummer?
Thank you. I just want to piggyback onto what Alderman Sutton said. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, our agreement that we had with the company that does the spraying, we got in a tizzy last year because we didn't. It had expired at the end of May, and then we hadn't had a spray, and there was a question about the invoicing on it. So I agree with Alderman Sutton that we need to definitely look into this now, because I agree the mosquitoes are already out. And we need to make certain if we need to rebid on that contract, now's the time to do it. Because it was up for renewal in May last year, and that's why we got into trouble trying to get an emergency spray. So I do want to piggyback on his statement about that. That was something I was going to address. So great minds think alike, I guess. But anyway, one thing I'd like to say is that I don't want to take any thunder from Steve Yance or his veterans, what they're working on. But I do want to know that I have walked the trail for the backcountry trails that's going to be going in one of the phases. And I will say that it looks really good. It's very beautiful down in that area. And I think there is some areas that's going to need to be addressed for safety, but I believe everyone's working on that, and some of them are not as dangerous as we think. But work is going forward with the park, and it is very exciting. Thank you.
Mr. Fisher?
In conjunction with that back trail, TDEC showed up the other day, 2 of their gentlemen, to look at our parks. Because we applied for a $2.5 million grant from them with matching grant from us. They came by unexpectedly to inspect what we had. Well, they found out that our jungle gym, whatever you call it, that little plastic thing out there, was unsat. We have pea gravel as a buffer for kids to fall and break their tush, unsat. The bathrooms were all locked when people were out there playing, unsat. But we went in there and I talked to Chase, and Chase went in there and we turned on the water, and guess what happened? Water everywhere, because improperly frozen water busted our pipes, and now we just turned them on for the first time. Harvey and his crew went down there and they got them fixed. But now we have to try and figure out how we're going to do this with TDEC, who brought up some issues we're going to have to talk about and probably put funding into it to keep this going. Okay?
Okay. For the board's information, Mr. Fisher made it our attention, those 2 gentlemen came by and visited with Jay and I, and we have they're sending us official stuff, and we will be dealing with it in an appropriate manner as soon as we get what they have concerns about.
And I know we've had a lot of movement there, but when you have an unused building, and you got winter time, we had wind chills of 20 below this year. make sure that we winterize that building. This is not the first time we've had busted pipes down here.
It's
Four
it's almost every year.
Yeah,
And so we need to take some precautions somewhere to winterize. Cut the water off, it ain't being used in the winter.
I think I think they cut the water off, but they don't go inside and open up the taps and flush the, right. I think
Well,
that's the
I'm
issue.
sure that Mr. Harvey's hearing everything you're saying tonight, and I think we'll probably have better.
he's
results.
hearing, but is he listening?
He knows water freezes, I guarantee you that.
All right, is that it, Mr.
That's it for me.
Mr. Wiggins?
Mayor, tonight, I just want to recognize a member of our police department, Officer Charles Taylor, got a promotion to sergeant. I think the police department's doing a good job. He's a part of that. I just want to formally recognize that from the town. Congratulations.
Where is he? Is he here?
I think he's here. Anything else from the good of the cause? If not, I will move on. We have some items under the city manager's report. I'm going to ask Harvey to deal with them tonight. You notice we have his presence right in front of us, so y'all can throw things at him. And
Department director.
Mr. Mayor, are we gonna address any director reports? Because I had a question regarding one.
That's Harvey.
that's what we're going to do
He's
right
gonna do
now.
his first.
I'm talking about director's reports, not the town manager.
Item 9.
Okay, I missed the director's
Yeah, you
report.
went to town
I
manager.
apologize. I'm trying to get this overheard here tonight, I guess. Okay, does any of the department report want to make a report tonight? Any department heads want to make a report tonight?
Okay, now, we got,
Just one real quick thing. Open Fire is taking up donations of stuff, not money, but stuff for the town of Covington.
Okay.
Kyle Borland has been kind of heading that up. Each week, he takes a load over, and then he posts on our Facebook page what the stuff that they're asking for. So, go on our Facebook page, it'll give you the information, and bring it to the firehouse, and we'll make sure it gets there.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Board, I think Mr. Blake will make a quick presentation, if it's okay.
Okay? How you doing tonight, Blake?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
Somebody called me for the violations, but I was gonna give you all a quick update on the wastewater treatment plant, upgrade. Don't have too much to say. I do know that the plans were received by the state, TDEX Division of Water Resources, March 30th. Generally a 30-day turnaround, if all goes well. When those plans are approved, engineers will go back and calculate the final cost estimate, and we can begin bidding. So hopefully we'll be getting the ball rolling soon,
Okay.
as we get those plans back.
Okay. Any questions for Blake? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. I do have a question for you. I found it interesting reading your monthly report, and I guess I have such an interest in it because you gave such a marvelous tour of your plant about microorganisms and the bugs. It was fascinating, really. And I saw in your report, of course, we're concerned about those ammonia write-ups and all, and I saw your report in there about that bacteria, the Nocardia filamentous something bacteria, and it's caused by grease. Now, is this grease our kitchen sink grease that we're not supposed to put down the drain? And if it is, and it makes that bacteria, all that foaming stuff, what can we do to get the word out to citizens that don't put that down the drain? I mean, is that what it is?
You know, no matter whether you're doing everything absolutely correct, pouring it in a container and not putting it down your drain, a little bit of grease is gonna get in there just from rinsing, you know. That grease often accumulates in your sewer pipes. And, we had 3 very wet months in a row. And when you have that much rain, your pipes aren't always running full. Generally, there's just a little trickle going through them. So the more water you push through there, the more they clean those pipes and push all the grease to the plant. Our plant has what's referred to as a long retention time. So when water comes into our plant, it stays there for over 30 days before it does all of its treatment, fully gets treated and goes we're in the process of slowly working all that stuff that the rain and the extra water pushed into the system out. We did encounter those 2 violations because the only way to get rid of those Nocardia, those bad bugs, was to waste them out. And in doing so, we also lost some of the good bugs. So it took a moment, about a week, to rebuild our good bug population, but we've been smooth sailing ever since then. So we could, to answer your question, pass out some circulars or everything, but I like to think that the citizens are aware not to put grease, because that affects them and their bottom line as well. So.
I have another question regarding that, please.
Yes,
If we got infiltration from stormwater into our wastewater, all that rain washes the grease off and oil off the roads, does that negatively impact that as well?
It could. Now, grease is not the only thing that causes this one bad bug to do well. I just believe that that's most of the cause this time around. There are some other things that just by nature of our process kind of lend themselves to breeding that type of bad bug. But when we got all that grease in there, it just kind of allowed it to proliferate.
I appreciate you getting on and clearing that problem up.
Yes, sir.
I like the last sentence where there's no more issues, but I do agree with Alderman Hummel. Mailing something out, I would not just assume your average homeowner knows that. They turn on the hot water, they run the garbage disposal and pour it right down the drain.
But we will work something up and maybe shoot that out to the city.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. And I apologize for skipping over. All right. Miss Laura? Would you step to the podium, please? Mr. Fisher has a question for you.
A few.
Were you gonna talk to Chase? Or are you gonna do that later?
Hello. By far, your packet is impressive. Big, large, a lot of paper, a lot of reading. But I only found a couple items. And a couple items was the reconciling bank balances. We have a thing called Park Project. Could you tell me what that is?
That's the, park on 64 that we're building.
That's the new Newbern Park, okay. 776,010, and that comes from the 1 cent tax. The increase in the tax, okay? And that's only dedicated to the park, or where does that go?
Just the park is my understanding.
So it goes into the general fund, and then you take it out of the general fund and put it in the line item of the park.
Right, we get it, with the monthly state receipts tax check, and then I don't put it in the general fund, I put it directly to the park.
So you put it directly on the,
Well, I
How
take
many
it
s-
back, it does go in the general fund, then I move it out.
okay, all right. With that in mind, there's a resolution or an ordinance coming up today about dedicated park funds. You know what that is?
I assume I've not seen this package, so I assume that that's what it is. It's the,
Okay, dedicated park funds was in lieu of developers and all that giving us fee for each house.
oh, I'm with you, I do know.
Okay, so in lieu of doing that, they, instead of paying $250 per house, they dedicate a big park in their neighborhood or whatever, okay? Since, I mean, I don't think you know and I don't know, because I tried to look it up, but I couldn't. When this dedicated park fund was started or, you know, conceived, right now, supposedly we have an ordinance coming out to bring it raised up to $300 or so. Do we have a dedicated park fund for that line item? Not this one, because this is totally different.
That would go in the general fund.
So that would go in the general fund too. But if it's dedicated for the park, should that not have a line item for itself dedicated to the park? There is,
There is, in the general fund. In the general fund.
okay. So, when the drug fund gets stuff, it goes into the general fund as well, does it not? And then you take it out and you put it into their line item.
This is right.
So how come we do that with the drug fund, the fire fund, the wastewater, the water, and all that? But the park fund stays in the general fund, and it's supposedly go into a line item in the general fund when it should be going to the park, correct?
Now, this is two different things. This fee that the residents pay
Uh-huh.
is not in this, capital park fund.
Okay, the residents don't pay this.
Is that how
It's the builders,
The builders, I'm sorry.
okay? Developers and all that. They pay per house $250. We're trying to raise it to $300. I'm trying to figure out is when this is gonna be coming up again, is when it got started, how much money is in that, and how much has been used for the parks? Because recently, the only thing I've seen going to the parks was the half-cent sales tax.
That's right, and, of course.
So, so if we, let's just say we started at 2013. So in 10 years, we should have $250 times how many houses were built within that 10 years. Okay? And then minus whatever we use for the park, the fence and all that stuff, the lights going up now, and minus that. But we should still have that budget on that, correct?
It is in the general fund, or that, at the end of the year, it goes into the reserve. Any money that is out there will go into the reserve.
I think we need to look at that, because it,
But we, yes, I mean, I can
Yeah.
look back and get.
okay?
Okay, Ms. Laura, would you mind at the next meeting bringing us a report on that, please? Okay.
Can I finish with this one? The next, it's real short. Future fire fees. Is that anticipated all the future fire fees, or for how long? Because right now it says 320. Is that what you expect to get 320 until July?
That's an ongoing fee as far as,
Right, but this is for this year.
yes,
So that's till July.
yes.
And then July, we start a new one, and we'll get a better understanding of this.
That's,
Mr. Frank?
All right, Mr. Gates.
If I'm not mistaken, the way I understood that, the half cent sales tax goes to the park, but I think we put $200,000 a year into the general fund out of that.
that, but
I think we did on the budget this year, didn't we?
He asked how much that is.
I can see.
I think we did, I think we agreed to put
I can check on
200,000
it
of
and
that
see.
into the general fund, the rest of it stayed in the park.
I remember that conversation. I don't know if it was done, but I can check on it.
Okay, Mr. Harvey, can you help here?
I can add a little information, and I'll defer to Tom if I'm incorrect, as far as the park fees to the developers. It probably was a little around 10 years ago when we initiated that, and it was initiated through the subdivision development contract. Now, that contract and what was in that contract has varied over the years depending on who the town attorney was, who the administration was. So it wasn't a consistent 10-year span, I'm sure of that. And that's how it's being enforced now, and that hence an ordinance later tonight to further shore up that ability to gain those fees. and collect those fees.
But we don't have an understanding of where all that money has been building up.
You would probably have to go back and look at each individual development agreement. Some had it, some didn't,
Okay.
just for information.
Would it not show up in the budget?
Yes, I mean, you would see it over the
Right.
budget, right, I mean, over the years, you'd see what was budgeted
Right.
there. And then, I guess you'd have to do some digging into that account to see what was actually,
Well, as soon as we get through this year's budget stuff, maybe you can get a report for the board.
Let me ask one quick question.
Yes, sir.
If that $250 fee these developers have been paying all this time, wouldn't that money be used to go into the annual Parks and Rec operating budget? Wouldn't that just be a part of that budget?
it's all part of the revenues, and that's a branch of the,
I mean, if you collect these fees specifically for park funds, and every year we do the budget, we get, say we collected $50,000, but we give a $200,000 budget every year to Parks and Rec, wouldn't that be included in that? Okay. You know, and the half-cent sales tax on a referendum, is that whole half cent supposed to go to funding and continual operation of that park, or is only a quarter of that, like half of that fee?
The exact motion that was made, and.
Well, not a motion.
We decided to do a referendum,
Yes.
was if this passed, we would reduce the property taxes 10%, which we did. And that would cost us $200,000 in property taxes. We would return that 200,000 to the general fund, and the rest of it would go to park and recreation. Not the new park, not the old park, it was never specified.
So the half a cent referendum, so every year we can take 200,000, put it in our general fund, and all the rest goes to fund parks and recreation.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's a very important clarification.
okay.
But it should also
And
include,
if y'all remember in last year's budget, the board members is on here, when we give the raises to police and fire, we allocated that $200,000 that was over there to be used for those pay plans and pay raises.
my question is, the $250 that we have been collecting, should have been going to,
Supposed to have been collected.
right, and you're right, supposed to have been collected and put into the parks. Has it been? And she's saying, yeah, you know, it's part of that 200,000 we give. I said, well, actually, it should be 200,000 we give plus whatever we collect from that developers.
Okay.
That's the way it should be.
Mr. Thomas?
Just one, maybe to even clarify it even further, is that dedicated fees, such as those park fees that are collected through development agreements, are specifically earmarked funds that must be used for that purpose. Whereas the half-cent sales tax can be used for any purpose. Those are general funds. It's just the town's board decided at this point in time to use it the way that Alderman Sutton has described it. So, dedicated fees must be used.
Thank you.
They're earmarked.
Okay.
I was gonna give an update on the audit. We've started, so.
Well, you're up there, go ahead.
Yeah, but that's just it. We've started, really yesterday with Mincy, and they finished their tax season, so they're ready to get rolling. So hopefully we can get that turned in, and we'll have the next one on time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, any other information we need from department directors before I move on? All right, we'll move down, under manager's report, utility billing software conversion, Mr. Harvey.
Yes, sir, I'll address this quickly. The board is very familiar with this. This is regarding the final conversion from United Systems to local government. Just wanted to make the board and the public aware that this will begin tomorrow, actually tonight, and they will not be able to process any bills tomorrow, Friday. You can still make deposits, pay online, drop in the Dropbox, but they will not be processed till Monday morning. So it's a matter of information.
Okay, any questions? Moving down to B, overview of Oakland Sports Complex project, Harvey?
Yes, sir, that'd be me again. If you guys would be patient, I'll ask Mr. Coker for another favor here. He may want some pay increase for his IT skills. Or he may not.
We're gonna use those TVs again?
We'll use it.
Yeah, that's 2 times in a row.
Yeah, we're uptown.
Yeah,
So give us just a minute here, please.
okay.
I'd like some popcorn and Coke if anybody's going to the concession stand.
It never came home.
Never came up.
The whole time it wasn't smart.
Well, there goes your raise, Blake.
It looks really good, I can see.
Thank you. Not much to talk about. Like the TV. Are the TVs on, Blake?
Might be it, boss.
Is it plugged in?
It is now.
There it is.
Your IT skills need a little refining.
Okay. I guess I don't get that right. There we go.
Okay. Just 2 minutes, just a quick, something I thought about when I first got here, to give a quick overview of the park project and help with all our surveying and some of their men. We did a quick drone flight over the property, so it's just about 2 minutes. So that's a Google Earth image of before, and this is the current, starting at 64 going north. You'll be able to see a few features, but it'll give you an idea of the scope of the work. Kind of a ball field roughed in there, and a few more at the back. All the little black spots you see are drainage inlets. The drainage has been installed, majority of it. So those are erosion control around the drainage inlets. Creek in the middle, and you can see a few soccer fields kind of worked out on that side. Thought it'd give you a little different perspective than just driving by and looking.
So can we all take a plane ride like that?
Not me, none.
I can't answer that.
I don't-
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, but, yeah. It also give you an idea of how much property's left undeveloped.
Is that lake ever gonna be cleared out to do some fishing? Or is that just, yes?
Eventually, yes.
Okay. So we're gonna have the rodeo there, correct?
Probably not this year,
Right.
or next year. That's pretty much it. It should end in about 4 weeks.
Okay.
Mount Oakland, yeah.
Ken, how many trees are there that are 10 inches?
Not many,
Okay,
not many good ones at all.
okay.
That's it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Any questions on that? Move down to B, or C. Attorney report on request by BTT Development. Mr. Tom?
Thank you, sir.
So the board had some questions, last month, with regard to exactly how, this, renovation project would work, with regard to the apartments, next to the post office. And, of course, the important thing to remember is that the property has not actually, the ownership has not changed hands from the current owner to the company that will be think that's about as, and I talked to Cindy, she's trying her best to provide answers for us, but that's about as good as I'm gonna be able to get from them at this point. I think that if the board is comfortable, I would recommend that the resolution, which you did approve, contingent on these answers being provided, that the board approve this, go forward. It probably will be months before even a closing takes place where this gentleman purchases the apartments, then he's gotta get the renovation money from THDA in place. This is a bundled package of properties. He doesn't know exactly which project he will take up first. Somerville is one of them, Covington is one of them. So not really sure which order Oakland would come up in, but, there's nothing that's going to happen right away.
Would there be a contract covering this, a written contract and them signing it?
Between, the tenant and,
The one that's doing the work?
no, there will not be a contract between the tenant and the company. There will not.
So how do we know that they guarantee what they're saying?
Well, this is from their attorney. That's, like I said, Mr. Frank, that's gonna be the best we can do.
Since they're getting this money, aren't there all kinds of strings attached to them getting this money? I mean, don't they have to do this?
Yes, yes, and that's a very important point. They can be penalized, he can be removed from the approved list.
Right.
If he does not follow very strictly these, procedures because it's government funding. So, and this is one, if not the smallest, one of the smallest projects he's doing. I know that the Somerville project is about 3 times the size. Covington is even larger than that.
Well,
This is a very small project.
there is a sentence here that I've got a problem with. I would like to go over this with them before the Oakland property is pulled by your client. Are they thinking about backing out because we're taking too long to decide this? Or are you talking about pulling a permit?
Well, in their initial, they were wanting us to make a decision, and I called Ms. Burnett up and said, if you'll give us until our board meeting on the 20th, where you can provide this information and let the board consider your responses. But their option, if Oakland doesn't approve, is that they'll just remove these apartments from their bundled project.
I appreciate the concern. I share the same concerns, but I think the way that they're getting the funding, they have way more oversight than anything we're gonna provide. And I do not wanna miss an opportunity. He already told us when he was here, you guys are last on the list. It's no problem to me if we take you off the list. We have an investor coming in to put $1.4 million into upgrading facilities in our town. I strongly recommend that we just approve this, let them do what they do, and,
Do we need to vote on this again, Mr. Time, just
You've already approved.
consensus is we can go, okay. Mr. Time, you can go ahead. All right, I have pulled the items out of the consent agenda, so we will flip over on that. Moving into old business. Hear a motion to consider resolution 2302.
so move.
This is awarding a bid for Fire Station 1 building addition and improvements to the McCabe construction in the amount of $426,700. Fire fee fund will do it. We've had this as a part of our workshop. What is the board's wishes?
Now, this is when we talked at the workshop, we were talking about the, keeping in the electrical
Yes.
issue that was on there, Ron.
Yes.
We talked about that. and
Yeah, they
that was-
want to take out $3,000
Right, we took
electric
that in,
panel. Right.
Yeah, so that's been done, right? So we got a permit?
Yes, it has not been removed.
It has not, good. We just need a motion to approve this resolution?
That's correct.
Yes.
Well, I so move.
Have a motion from Mr. Hummel. Ms. Hummel, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second from Vice Mayor Wiggins. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. Consideration of Resolution 2331, renaming Byers Road to Meeborn Farms Road, continued for March 16th. Have a motion to hear. Have a motion to hear. Any discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I have spent more time than anyone could possibly estimate researching and talking to people on this issue. It seems to me that it kind of comes down to a contract issue. If this is in our contract, we have to enforce it, no questions. I think where the issue lies, I could be wrong, but from what I'm reading, it looks like a real estate attorney was not used by the family to do this deal. And the attorney's advice to them was just an overall park site would include the renaming rights of this road. Whether that's true or not, the family believed that this was included in that. But if the argument is this isn't in the contract, then this is irrelevant because we've already fulfilled the contract, and this is just a special request from a family that's before us tonight to consider. So, you know, I've heard arguments that there may be a safety concern, and I don't see any safety concern. I talked to someone at the 911 office. They said they don't care what we name the road. The fire department doesn't care what we name the road. Police department doesn't care what the name of the road is. As a matter of fact, one officer told me that if the road was a different name and he didn't have an exact location and was in a hurry, if they said Bowers, he knew he was going south. If they said Mewburn Farms, he knew he was going left before he even determined the correct location. I know a lot of people don't care about history. I think that's a mistake. I think our country is in the shape that it's in because we don't teach history in school anymore. They get a little bit of American history, but what do they learn about the state of Tennessee? Oakland is growing exponentially, and all these people coming in, they're not learning about Oakland or Fayette County. They don't know when our town was established, who lived here at the time, where did our square used to be. You know, history does mean something to me. And we have a family that's been here for generations. This was the original little dirt road that went to their family farm. It was the Mewburns. And, right. Now, at some point, they had a tenant. I'd be a little bit upset if I owned hundreds of acres of farmland and the post office just went and knocked on the door and said, "What's your last name?" "Well, we'll call this Bowers Road." That would bother me. And even if we change this, it doesn't mean Bowers Road's going to, there's still going to be a Bowers Road in town. It's just going to be south of the highway. This is something that we can do. The history of this family coming here dates back 300 years, more than 300 years. That's older than the United States of America. At some point, some of their family relocated to Fayette County and started a farm out here. I have no issue whatsoever in honoring this request. I think that this is helping to enrich our local history right here in Oakland. Mayor, I want to make a motion to approve this, and if I get a second, I'd like to request a roll call vote on this.
I have comments I'd like to make before we go to
Give
that.
an opportunity to comment.
Well, he already made a motion.
He
so she
shouldn't have made
doesn't
the
get a
motion
comment.
yet. We should
You
have
rescind
discussed
your
it.
motion to
I think we can still, I'll still let you discuss. My motion and a second's on the thing.
Okay.
I'm going to rule, that we have a motion and a second. We will now take discussion from Mrs. Hummel before
Thank you.
we vote.
Thank you. Thank you. I think those are all valid points, Vice Mayor. I do like them, and I believe in history. I majored in history. Again, one reason I chose this county to move to because of the rich history. I mean, the Marquis de Lafayette, our county is named after. So yes, and also Somerville is named after historical people. So I think it's all well good on that. Again, I try to stick to the facts. And again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Everyone's heard my comments from the Planning Commission to the other meetings that we've had about it and even here. So, and it's been in the paper. So my issue has always been not doing things on a handshake because the real estate laws require that due to the statute of frauds, that it has to be in writing, not by handshakes, and I understand what you're coming from on that. I do think it's a safety issue. I also talked to 911. I also had Carolyn Mason here to address that on 2 different occasions, so I know where she stands. And the chief said, you said it doesn't matter to him. It may not matter to him because he's going wherever 911 tells him to go. It does not matter to him. As long as he's told where to go, his liability is, well, 911 told me to go there, so I'm sure it doesn't matter to him in that respect. But again, those are my points. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, and thank you very much.
Mayor, I didn't say the chief, it was someone in the police department. And one more thing, I did ask Ms. Crawford to, this only affects one other family right now, it's the Cordini family. And they gave their permission, and I said, well, giving their permission is fine, but they need to understand, they have to retitle their house, they have to redeed their house. I think that there's a business address there. This is gonna require a lot of effort, and him spending several $100s getting this changed. And she followed up with him, and he understands all of this, and he's still fine with the name change.
Another point I would bring to the board's attention is, the planning commission did vote to do this. It was not unanimous. Ms. Hummel did abstain. I did not abstain, voted no. But the rest of us all voted to change the name. So I wanted to let that information be provided to the board. At this time, I have a motion and a second. I have a request for roll call vote. I will start at the end. Mr. Sutton?
Yeah.
Mr. Cates?
No.
Ms. Hummel, no. Ms. Fisher?
No.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Vice President Williams votes second. That would make the vote 3-2 in favor. Motion passes. Will now be known as Mewborn Road, Farms Road.
Is it Mewborn Farms Drive or Mewborn Farms
See, we
Road?
don't even know
Because
what
I
it
thought it
is.
was road, but the resolution says drive. Now we get to talk about it for another 3 hours.
No, we're not. We're moving on. Okay. Motion is carried. Moving on. I need a consideration for resolution 2332. Have a motion from Mr. Cates. This is the authorization of a rental policy for Oakland Activities Center. It's a continuance from March 16th. It is in your packet. Need a motion or discussion?
I'll make a motion to accept this, the resolution 23-32, as it was in wrestling here with this attachment.
Have a motion and a second.
Can I ask a question? Is this just the rental policy, or are we talking about the fees later?
Fees are later.
Okay.
This is just the policy itself.
Okay.
All right. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Who seconded that?
Me.
All right. Have a motion to hear ordinance 2305, an ordinance amending City Code Title 7, Chapter 5, fire fee, establishing a public hearing date of May 18th, 2023.
So moved.
Have a motion from Mr. Fisher, have a second from Vice Mayor Wiggins. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, this is just a
You
hear,
have to
right?
do
It's
it,
just to hear it.
yeah.
Okay. All right, Chief, you want to come forward and talk about this a little bit? This is the fire fee.
Yeah, this is raising the fire fee from 18 cents to 25 cents is what we proposed. I think this will keep the fire fee kind of on balance. I think over the next year to 2 years, we may see construction let off a little bit, simply because the economy, this will help compensate for that. Then when construction picks back up, we'll start doing a lot better. We have a lot of projects that we're trying to accomplish. This fire fee so far has actually purchased in 2016 a $180,000 rescue truck that actually didn't come out of the general fund. It was totally purchased by this. 2018, we bought a $400,000 pumper that came out of this fee. Did not have to come out of the general fund or capital improvement to buy this. So this is a very important fund that I think takes a lot of burden off the taxpayer and puts it on people that are coming into the county to make a profit. And I think it just pays for itself.
Okay. You you have any questions for
Yes.
Chief? Yes, Mr. Fisher?
You said that it comes out, that we've got something out of the general fund that we didn't have to, because of this.
Yes.
We didn't have to pay it out of general fund.
Yes.
We're not supposed to pay it out of the general fund. It's supposed to come out of the fire fees, no
Well,
matter what.
no.
Only things that come out of the general fund are what? Salaries and,
Well, none of this would come under capital improvement, but it actually didn't have to come out of the fund for capital improvement because it came out of the fire fee.
okay, all right.
I have a question, Mayor. Just to clarify, this is the first reading of this ordinance.
Yes.
Okay, I think, I could be wrong, but I seem to remember we kind of got a little bit behind with the 18 cents last time it was raised. I believe at that time, Mr. Fisher was arguing for higher. So now we want to go to 25 cents, but this is 2 years out. And I remember at the workshop asking Mr. Johnson, shouldn't we go to maybe 30 cents on this?
136.
But apparently he didn't write that down, or he just,
And
I think what the decision was, is we could set the rate at this. when
At
we-
this meeting.
When we make a motion on this order.
Yes.
And, you know, you're looking at, what he's proposed is about a 38% increase, 39%, which in real money, you look at 25 cents would be $6.25 on a 2,500 square foot house. And if you raise it to 30, it'd be $7.50, on a 2,500 square foot house. So, you know, and keep in mind, that won't cost anybody that lives here a dime unless they buy another house in Oakland. But if they stay where they're at, they never have to pay a cent of this. It will only affect people coming in,
Okay.
which is gonna cause our future growth of our fire department.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, you have a comment?
No, I have a motion.
Okay, all right.
I have a motion that we approve this with the change to make it at least 30, at max 36 cents.
I think you can make a motion like that. You have to, I think you need to make it 20, say the amount you want it to be set.
$5.
Mr.
Make it
Fisher,
30 cents, please.
Mr. Fisher has made a motion to raise this fee to 30 cents instead of 25. Now, I'll remind you that you're just making that motion. It will be conducted, we'll have a public hearing on this May 18th.
Correct.
Have a motion from Mr. Fisher. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a second from Mr. Sutton to raise the fee to 30 cents. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Ms. Vaughn, would you construct that ordinance in such a manner that shows 30 cents, please? And we will have a public hearing on it on May 18th.
thank you all very much.
Next ordinance, ordinance 2306. Do I have a motion to hear?
motion to hear.
Okay, this ordinance is an ordinance on amending City Code Title 5, Chapter 5, Park Development Fee, establishing a public hearing date of May 18th, 2023. This is raising the fee again on new construction. Am I correct, Mr. Harvey?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion?
This kind of goes back to what Mr. Fisher brought up with Laura earlier. I don't have a problem raising from 250 to 300, but we do need to have a line item because this is for a park dedication fee. We need to make sure we know how much money is in there that can go toward the park. That needs to be a line item in our financials, not just thrown into the general fund.
And I think we can make sure that's done in the new budget, as you've asked and Mr. Fisher's requested.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve ordinance 2306, raising the fee from 250 to 300 with a public hearing date of May 18th. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Fisher. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move on there. All right. Next ordinance is ordinance 2307, and an ordinance amending the city code, chapter, title 11, chapter 4, noise regulations, establishing a public hearing date of May 18th, 2023.
This also, I'll make a motion to hear.
Motion to hear.
This is also something we discussed in the workshop, to change those hours Monday through Friday to the right times, and it's not changed on here.
And Saturday has 2 times, and I don't like seeing question marks in
Okay,
ordinances.
Mr. Rex, will you step forward, please? Okay,
What we have already on the Monday through Friday is 7 A to 6 P. Why he didn't put 6 P? That's what we already have standing here for Monday through Friday. Me personally, 8 to 4 on Saturdays is what we need. That's what, we don't need to be 6 o'clock. 8 to 4 is fine.
On the weekend,
On Saturdays,
Saturday,
no permitted work on Sunday.
right.
You can cut your grass, you can paint your house as a homeowner, but no permitted work on Sunday.
Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve this as staff recommendation.
have a motion to approve as issued with staff recommendation.
Let's say this out loud. 7 AM to 6 PM on Monday through Friday, and 8 AM to 4 PM on Saturday.
I'll second the motion.
All right.
Say it
Get it in
loud.
Get it in your word there, Mr.
Say it loud.
No Sunday.
No Sunday. Have a motion for Mr. Sutton, have a second, Vice Mayor Wiggins. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Rex, you can go to work on that.
All right, go to you next.
Okay. Next is ordinance 2308, motion to hear.
Motion to hear.
This is an ordinance amending the city code title 12, chapter 1, section 112, establishing public hearing date of May 18th, 2023. Gentlemen, y'all want to explain this and to cover with the board?
No, we know about it, no.
This is what we went over in the workshop with our drawings.
Understand. Any questions?
This is what you want. This is what you think is needed.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion for Mr. Fisher to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, Ms. Hummel. All in favor?
Aye.
I look forward to seeing that since I stopped
No.
on the golf course this week
No.
today and looked at, stood in one house and touched the other house's wall.
Right.
Ordinance 2309, motion to hear. Okay, this is an ordinance amending the adopted fiscal year 2022-23 budget, establishing a public hearing date of May 18th, 2023. This is a cleanup bill. Have a motion to hear.
Motion to hear.
Any questions? Have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, Vice Mayor Wiggins, to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, Mr. Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, we're moving into resolutions. I will refer you back to the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to hear Resolution 2336?
Motion.
Have a motion for Mr. Fisher. This is a motion authorizing the engineering agreement with King Engineering for inspection of Phase 1 road improvements, fiscal year 2023, in the amount of $25,900. It is section residential inspection fee of $10,000. Mr. Harvey,
Yes, sir.
you want to talk about this?
Can answer any questions that you have in your packet. It explains the $25,000, I believe, is for the design fees for this project. $10,000 is for the inspection. You also have a list of streets that are in this project and bid tabulations for bidders. Just for public information, it's in this bid package, it's Cross Street subdivision. Chickasha Ridge Drive from what I call the roundabout, just south of Walmart there to 64 Highway. And
be done. We postponed the fall paving to the spring now, so that we could have 2 paving periods and not get cut off by weather. This bid packet was separate than the one that was budgeted. There were some changes made on the roads, if you go back and look, that was supposed to be in here, that's not in this one. Is that a problem?
Depends whether there are more funds that are having to be used than what was budgeted.
Should we use them more of
I tell you what I don't like about it is they hand us this list. People ask us when their roads are gonna be paved.
Right.
I understand.
We tell them when, and then this new package comes out, and it makes us a liar.
Yep.
And I mean, I just, you know,
Why can't we just stay on schedule with what we had?
With what the past one was to bring it forward.
unless we see these bid packets before they go out, of what's gonna be included, we'll never know what to tell our constituents and our neighbors and our, you know, people that are asking us questions. Because I know for a fact, there was one road in there that them people have been promised and promised and promised, and now it ain't in this bid package. How do we as a board ensure that that is in the next bid package for the summer? How do we do that?
I suppose that the actual streets could be itemized in the resolution.
I thought they were last fall for this spring.
It had 5 years worth of paving streets.
We had a list for last fall and moved it to this spring. So why couldn't we just keep that same list this spring and then move this to fall?
Because the bid packet went out and it give these certain roads, right? But if we don't see those bid packets,
We don't know what's going on.
we don't know until it comes out. And so when you look at this, there was even somebody here last month, they complained about the roads. And I made the mistake of telling them that they were on that bid package to be paid. And now when I look at this,
Not there.
they're not on there. And I know that you wasn't here when it changed. You were here when the bid packet went out, but you wasn't here when it got changed.
Correct, and I promised people as well, and Mr. Mullins did as well, that streets would be on there.
But we
So
need
we're
to
all a
make-
bunch of liars.
We need to make sure,
Well,
Yeah.
we need to
Because
make
something
sure
came out.
that them people are on that, and it's gonna be the difference in.
Well, who put this
June,
together?
July.
Who put this bid package together?
Jay Johnson.
By himself. Harvey didn't. Ed. Dennis. So no, so he did it by himself.
He's not here to answer that
That's
question.
right.
Okay,
Can-
let me
can I make a
see if I
motion?
can offer a solution here, Mr. Sutton. I think Mr. Harvey and now understand, has heard what you had to say. As I understand it, under his new position, this is some things he will be dealing with. I think he understands what the board wants, and I think in the future, we will make sure that the board knows exactly what's being bid.
I am no
Can
way
I-
gonna hold up paving roads.
Can I make a
We've done
motion?
that long enough, but I wanted to get, more or less get on the record that I was speaking off the information I was provided at the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Can I make,
agree.
okay,
Just a minute, I'm gonna
I
get
make a
this-
motion.
whoa, whoa,
Go
just-
ahead.
Just a minute. Are you through, Mr. Sutton?
Yes, sir, I yield to Mr. Fisher.
Okay, Mr. Fisher.
I make a motion that that last bid package that we approved and were told that was gonna happen when we moved it to the spring, be the one that is here instead of this one. And then the one that is here, we need to look at it to bring it to the fall.
Okay, Mr. Harvey, what kind
Because
of,
there's paperwork there.
okay. Let me make sure that you understand what you're creating when you make that motion. Mr. Harvey.
The whole bid package would have to go out for bids, and we are already, we're right on time. If we postpone this, I'm afraid we're gonna be right back in the situation we were last year.
All right.
One project done this year and not a late summer
Well, then that means the ones who we promised and they saw and we voted on,
How about we put those on the summer project? The ones that were left off.
all right, if you could do that, we need to explain it to the people so they don't come after us.
Will you retract your motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Arnold.
Thank you, sir. I was reading the letter behind Resolution 23-36, and in the letter on this one, it was addressed to Jay from King Engineering. He's talking about the design fee, and in it, he's got the paragraph B, where he talks about the $617,367.80 times 6.76%. Now, he said he got that from Table 2 of the attached R&D fee schedule. Well, I flipped over to his attachment in the R&D, and I had another person look at it, and I can't see where 617,000 in that blah, 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 and under, where that is 6.76%. It actually reflects for 700 and below, it would be 6.64. So I don't know where you got that 6.76%. Now, that may not be important, because in the next paragraph, he says, I want to be a great guy, and I think that's too much, so I want to lower it to a flat fee, 4.20%, which might rounds it up to 25. But I think that's great, but I'm just, not that it matters if he's going to lower it, but I don't see where he got 6.76%. I'm looking at Table 2, and I don't see that on there.
On the last page, Ms. Deborah,
Yeah.
the low bidder Fowler paving, that amount is 617,367.80 is where that figure comes from. And
But he should have said he got it from Table 2, which he attached, and I'm looking and I don't see it. And if he's a company wanting to make money, I don't know why he's being so great for us to give him the lower down. I'm just gonna be a good old guy, just give it to you for this amount of money. Okay. Understand that, I just don't get it.
Okay?
Well, I do agree, he doesn't read tables correctly.
No, I don't, I had a couple
He's
people
probably
look at it
giving
and
us
said,
a
"Show me where it
discount
is."
because we give
And
him
I
a
don't
lot
see-
of
that's
business.
a typo, but maybe it's not important, but.
6.76% of 617,367.80 low bid is 41,734. And he said that, I think he's saying he's giving us a deal, Miss Debbie, but I do not see anywhere in the table where the 6.76
No, I don't
in
either.
the first place either.
I don't either.
Maybe that's a standard charge of his for road design?
Now, if you look at the table, it says 6.79. He probably just
Yes.
made a mistake and said 6.76.
Yeah, well,
But it doesn't matter if he's going to 4.2.
Yeah.
4.2 ain't even on this, so.
Take 4.2.
yeah.
All right, so I
I'm
want to
just
be,
curious.
I want to say this, just like Mr. Sutton did with the last thing, I want to say this out loud. If we approve this, the next bid package that comes up is going to be the one that we approved last time. That will be done this year. Is that correct?
Unless,
I'll give comment. I can put it in now, let's just go back to budgeting. Now, the numbers I've seen, we budgeted $1 million for this year. So we're looking at a little less than 300,000 left for the summer project. I'm not sure what was left out, or if 300,000 will cover it. But I can put it in and get cost estimates, and we can bid whatever we left out.
And you will show the board the list before we go out for bid.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Cost estimate as well.
All right?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion, Vice Mayor Williams, to approve.
Just a
Yeah, I
second,
got it.
I just wanna, Mr. Ellis just said something, I mean, he answered your question, but I heard something besides what he said. So I can tell you what we can do. We can make a motion to cut anything that wasn't in the, out of this contract that was put in, and I know for a fact we'll have the money to do the other one, on the second project. So if something got moved ahead, we could approve this resolution by cutting out whatever wasn't on the original one that we approved, and then the money will be there for the second paving. Is that correct?
As I understand it, that'll work.
That's our avenue, right there.
Well, I don't have the first list in front of me.
I could make a motion to approve this resolution,
Let me rescind my motion.
okay?
Rescind here, Mr. Sutton.
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution, excluding anything that wasn't on the bid package that we approved in the fall.
the original.
Well, wait a minute, it might be all of it.
No, I don't think
No,
it's all of it.
there's a couple roads that ain't on here.
Ken, was that it? I brought my record on that. That's what I had from the last,
Is that last November's?
that's what we talked about.
This is the list, but it's not the bid package. It's not actually.
Right.
The bid package. We would have to have the one, but you don't know how much it was?
I don't know the streets or anything, Mr. Mullins may know, I can put him on the spot, do you know what streets were in the original bid thing? I know it was, Black Ankle Drive,
Black Ankle
the
Drive,
West End,
Ross Creek, and Meebane. That's the three it was on.
And, well, Mr. Johnson in here, and in all fairness, remember, we have that issue with the drain on Chickasaw Ridge, is that correct? And I think that's why he went ahead and included this in there, because it did cause significant damage to the road that needs to be repaired, and that road's horrible anyway. Without him being here,
Mr. Mullins, were you involved in putting this together?
No, sir, not the one this time.
Okay.
You was involved in that leakage over on that road though, weren't you? Where that culvert caved in?
so out of the three you listed that you remember in the previous bid, the only one that you can recall taking out was Black Ankle Drive, the western part.
They took out Black Ankle Drive, if I'm not mistaken, Ross Creek.
and they put in Chickasaw Ridge.
And you put in Chickasaw where the damage was.
That's in the new one.
And that may be, that's a heavily traveled road, that may be more of a safety concern.
There's your explanation, Mr. Sutton, I believe why it changed.
So, I can withdraw my motion.
Then I will make a motion to approve, Mayor.
All right. I have a motion to approve resolution 2336. I have a second.
I'll second the motion.
I have a second from Mr. Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Moving on. Resolution 2337, a motion to hear.
So move.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor Wiggins, a resolution authorizing a professional service agreement with A2H Engineering for design services for STBG grant signal improvements.
Is
This
this
was
reflectors for the emergency services?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion from Mr. Sutton, have a second.
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Wiggins, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you all.
All right.
Goes a lot faster when you read your packet first.
There,
Yes, it does. All right. Let's see.
Are we at 2338?
2338, thank you. Moving along to resolution 2338, motion to hear.
Motion to hear.
All right, this motion is authorizing the fiscal year 24 fiscal year 28 fire fee fund capital improvements program guide. This is a guide only.
can we talk to the chief?
Mr. Chief. Come on in here. I got a question for Mr. Fisher.
Yes, I will, sir.
This is your workup, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you got it in 24, you got 225,000 for fire station number 2, design, an aerial truck, 450, and a replacement, brush for 51,000.
Yeah, the replacement brush truck will be taken out. Like I say, this is a guy, so that 54,000 will be struck.
Okay,
If you flip to the next page, Mr. Fisher, there's also 11,000 for,
yeah, well, he just
Kinda like
interrupted,
a
so,
kid's Christmas list.
yeah.
Yeah,
You may not get it all, you can get some of it.
yeah. It just gives the guy how the money's coming in.
So-
That 30 cents fee will be spent.
So, this is capital improvement, what kind of improvement would that bathroom and that kitchen be?
That would actually not come out of the fire fund, that would come in capital improvement out of the, general fund.
Well, this is a 5-year capital improvement program guide
But that's fire fee,
for a fire fee account.
right, not out of the general fund or capital improvement.
So you have,
This is the money just out of that,
So you have a capital fund fee for, help me out here. There's two different line accounts for same capital
The fire fee is a
improvement,
total separate fund,
right?
and it's set aside for certain, objects.
Right.
Replacement of vehicles, so on like that. It can't be used for menial things. Then the general operating fund of the fire department, which, does building improvements, so on like that, and building maintenance. That's what the kitchen renovation would be out of.
Okay, so where would the extension of the front doors and all that, where's that coming out of?
The fire fund.
Which one? Because you said fire
No,
fund,
no, no, no.
There's
the
two.
The general budget of the fire department, then you have the fire fee, two entirely different beasts. This is funded by contractor, construction, this is funded by tax dollars.
and the bathroom's gonna come out of the tax dollars.
I guess. Yeah, yes, sir.
The way, Chief, when we're the volunteers, back when we helped wrote the contract for fire fee, what was it, '04? It is stated that that money is only to be used for new items purchased. No hiring employees, no updating of building, bringing it to code. It is for new fire equipment only. And equipment,
Is apparatuses.
apparatus,
Got it,
airbags.
okay.
Buildings,
You are gonna
new
put these
buildings.
building improvements in your budget, correct?
It is, yes.
Good deal, all right. Now you got me straight on that.
Most of the time, when you think of these fees, y'all, if it's something you collected on new, that can't be spent on anything old. Kinda like the adequate facilities tax the county collects.
Yes.
When they collect that, they're not supposed to spend that.
I wondered how
on
you
a
were gonna
jail
get
they've
that in
already
this.
got, Unless they're building more rooms onto that jail. So if they spend them on old sales, that's wrong. If they built new sales, it would be good because that growth money is there for what problems that growth causes. And that's the best way I can
That's
explain
it.
it.
You know, I have a more general question. Maybe because I'm new to this. If this is just a guide for us to operate our budget with, why do we need a resolution on it? All this resolution is, here's a guide, but we could change that next month when we start going through the budget stuff. Why do we have to have a resolution on?
The word is guide.
Well, then why do we need a go
Mr.
ahead.
Harvey, you wanna try to?
I know, and it's just from meeting Jay earlier in the week, it said that, this outline is required per our ordinance. I can't elaborate on that, but that's.
Okay, that makes
That's a
sense.
good explanation.
That's a good explanation.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve resolution 2338.
I'll second.
Have a second for Mr. Wiggins, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on. Resolution 2339, have a motion to hear.
Here,
Motion. Go ahead.
All right, have a motion for Mr. Fisher to hear. Chief, come back here.
man, you trying to spend all the money.
Okay, this is authorizing the purchase of a temporary, carport area for the, Oakland Fire Department, so we can have a place to protect our equipment while this construction is going on. It's basically what it is. Am I correct, Chief?
Yes, sir, this is what was discussed at the workshop.
And where's it gonna go? Back there?
Yes.
Okay. And when you're done with it, where's it gonna go?
Then we're gonna, repurpose this, for the police department to,
Keep it back there for their parking,
temporary area.
okay?
It's not gonna be firehouse number 2?
Is that gonna be part of it?
In New Hickory will.
All right. Have
Make a
motion.
motion.
I make a motion to accept resolution 2339.
Thank you, Ms. Hummel. Have a second from Mr. Fisher. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, now
Come
we're
on
gonna
back.
hit him again.
Come
You
on
might
back.
wanna Come on back.
Are we at 2340 now?
No, it's 2302.
We've already covered it.
Wait a minute,
We
23.
already did
We've
that.
covered those. I'm sorry. I apologize.
We're ju-
Y'all got me so confused. I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
I
we
think we're
just
right
playing
here.
with you.
2340. We're down to 2340 now.
Yep.
Thank you for taking those out and talking about them from the consent agenda. Have a motion to hear resolution 2340.
No,
Okay,
When did it,
okay, let me talk about that, because they don't know, Tom. We're going to ask you to give us a motion to defer this per attorney request, and we will discuss it May 8th in our work session.
So moved.
Have a motion from Mr. Sutton, have a second.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
From Vice Mayor Hummel.
Vice Mayor Wiggins?
Is someone trying to tell me something?
One step at a time, Mayor, one step at a time.
I'm trying to get out of here. Okay, all right. Moving on, next one, resolution 2341. A resolution adopting fees for the activity center rental. This, have a motion to hear.
Motion to hear.
Have a motion to hear. Now, this, if, as I understand it, Mr. Harvey or Chase, this may be one you want to comment on. This is setting the fee at $50 to rent the building for 4 hours and $100 if you use food service. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I
Any
think,
questions?
I think that's a little high. I think last time we were talking about this, it was $35 to rent the activity center. And,
I did too, I agree with
well,
you.
I think it's too high, and I think I take great exception to the word full kitchen. I mean, there's a sink and a microwave.
They don't have to pay it, they don't use it.
That's right.
I don't think we can say a sink and a microwave is a full kitchen.
In New York City, it's a full kitchen with a bath.
Right, with the bath.
Okay,
I think $50 to wash your hands in the sink and make a bag of popcorn in the microwave is a little bit excessive.
But, I mean, you have office space there now, so employees have to spend time and getting their stuff out of the way, and so there's expense incurred, electricity and.
Yes, and I agree with that because I have rented many a party places for meetings and such throughout my lifetime, and $50 is a steal. I can assure you what we provide in that facility. We have got tables and chairs, workable TV systems. And most caterers, they're bringing their prepared food, and these people bring their sandwich trays or their meatballs or whatever in a chafing dish. I mean, it's not like they're going to be cooking something in there, but it's all that we have. And if someone finds offensive with whatever we have, we can be specific, but down the road, we might be adding more. It could end up being a full kitchen.
Ms. Hummel, you making a motion?
Yeah, I think we should accept that $50 fee as a state.
Your motion is for $50 for the 4-hour rental and $100 if they use food. Is that correct? Ms. Hummel?
That's a long way to
Hey,
get
no,
there.
don't put words in their mouth. Let her make the motion.
Is your motion,
Because I'm still,
I'm gonna give you an opportunity when I get through with her.
I'm done. I'm not gonna win anyway.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Hummel, your motion is $50 if they don't use food service, $100 if they use food service, and for a 4-hour period.
I think so. I think that's adequate.
Okay, have a motion from Ms. Hummel. Do I have a second?
Now, can I ask you, is the deposit, are we returning the deposit after a deposit? Or-
Yes, because we have to hold the check for 3 days if I'm
Right.
correct and get a
So
deposit,
what are
and
we
they get the money
charging
back.
them for cleanup fees and the lights and all that? If we're gonna charge them $50 and then turn around and give it back to them, then why are we charging
No.
them and all?
They don't
No.
clean it up, we keep it.
We keep,
Well, that's if they don't clean it up.
Can I ask a point of clarification? When you say $100 for full kitchen, does that mean if they use our microwave, or is that if they bring their own food?
if they use any, we're not gonna be standing there and watching them if they're punching the buttons on the microwave.
Okay,
I mean, I don't think we're gonna
Okay.
have anybody in there doing that.
okay. I'm looking
One
out
day
for the
we
citizens
may have a
that
bunch
live
of
here.
dishes in there
It's
too.
a small,
Get the money back.
it's a small,
So they're gonna get.
so it's
their
gonna
money
cost them nothing?
It kinda keeps them from tearing it up.
Speak on it.
Wait a minute. This is just a deposit that's refundable, so in the end, it's gonna cost them nothing?
No, they gotta pay $50, but they're also paying
back. Doesn't say that.
they're paying $50 to use it for 4 hours.
100 if they was renting it for 50, they put up 200 if they was renting it for 100. But here's the
Say
thing Mr. Wiggins just brought up about our citizens. So this means that if I rent it, I'm gonna pay 50, and if somebody that lives in Covenant rents it, they pay 50?
It's a small space. The people who live here use it. We let social clubs, civic clubs, we let HOAs use that space to have little meetings. Does that mean if a Parks and Rec has a coaches meeting, do they have to pay that fee?
Ms. Homer, you want to withdraw?
I'm looking out for our citizens and trying to save them money. We live in a small town, and I
Well,
don't think
let's
they should have to
withdraw,
pay.
I'll withdraw the motion so we can discuss it
Okay,
further. Obviously, we're not ready for a
Here's my
vote.
suggestion, since y'all decided to have a lot of questions, and they're legitimate, some of them aren't. But there are questions. I would move that we move this to our work session on the 8th and talk about it.
Well, maybe I will win.
I
Is
make
that,
a motion,
everybody comfortable with that?
I make a motion, we put it for the next work session.
I'm not comfortable with Oakland people paying the same thing.
All right,
somebody
we have a
paying-
motion from
Motion.
Mr. Fisher to put this on our May 8th work session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second, Mr. Wiggins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chase, welcome to Oakland.
Hey. Mayor, I know you like to complain, but you ran for the office.
Yes, I did. But I can correct that problem. All right. Resolution 3242, motion to hear.
2342.
2342, motion to hear. Motion, sir. All right, this is motion awarding fiscal year 2023 paving street project bid package to Fowler Paving in the total amount of $6,117, $367.80. Mr. Harvey, would you like to talk about this?
I can, it's basically what we spoke to earlier, the current bid, package.
Make a motion to accept the low bidder.
I have a motion from Mr. Sutton to accept the low bid. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Fisher. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving along. Resolution 2343, motion to hear.
Motion to
Authorizing request for proposal for banking service. Ms. Laura, you want to talk about this a minute?
I just know Jay and Heather have worked on packages to send out to the bank since that time. We're currently, of course, with Cadence, and, there is a list on the considered package of the banks that they're gonna be sending.
We will send them all banks in the city, is that right, Ms. Avon? Okay. Any questions on this?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor Wiggins to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, Mr. Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2344. Resolution, motion to hear.
Motion.
Have a motion from Mr. Fisher. Resolution endorsing the addition of military helicopter display Veterans Park at Cypress Creek.
Who wants to talk on that?
Motion to hear.
I've already got a motion here.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion approved,
Okay,
Mr.
Can I-
Okay, Mr. Fisher.
Section 3 says all project costs, including future maintenance, will be covered by donations, and no town funds are allocated or authorized at this time. My question being that if we get something from donated to us, we're required by law to maintain it. It doesn't say we gotta get funds to, from these people. I mean, somebody gives us something, they die, we have to still force their family to maintain it, or does that go to the city to maintain?
Mr. Tom, you want to comment on that?
What, the question is, if the town accepts the helicopter and that it is then displayed, does the town have a legal obligation to maintain it? I would say and we would wanna have further discussions with our insurance company about that, PE Partners, but I would say that for liability purposes, yes, you don't want it to fall into a state of
Disrepair.
disrepair where it could pose liability concerns. But the way the resolution was presented to me is that there needs to be as much effort as possible to make sure that donations cover not only the project costs but also future maintenance. That's the way it was presented to me.
I would like to ask that, this isn't the first time you see something like this in a park. And in a lot of situations in these parks, the American Legion would retain ownership of that helicopter and be responsible for that stand. We are just allowing them space in our park to display it. That way we never have ownership. We never have to pay any maintenance costs. Now, sometimes these things get moved because the owner decides that they want to put it in a different park. and that would be up to them, but the town would never be on the hook. We don't have to cover insurance liability. We never have to pay any maintenance. We're not on the hook for any of it. It's their property that we're allowing them space in our park. I would like a resolution that would reflect that. I might be the only one,
I
but
agree with that, and I think that there still needs to be further discussions with PE partners. Maybe this needs to be bumped out to a workshop. You know, I think a perfect example of this was the way that Mr. Bell was handled in Memphis.
Make a motion to table it.
Very good.
well, there's a different motion on the table.
I withdraw my motion.
All right, Mr. Sutton has withdrawn his motion. Mr. Cates has a motion to table to the workshop. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Tom, maybe we could do a little work on that and you give us something to look at. Appreciate it. All right. Resolution 2345, motion to hear.
So moved.
This resolution endorses the construction of a backcountry trail at Cypress Creek Veterans Park.
Mayor, I've got a problem. In section 1, it says that the mayor and board of aldermen endorse the idea. I don't think we need to endorse. We can allow. There may be some other issues that we need to address before we just let them go back there and do that. I make
Any different than the helicopter.
I make a motion
Exactly.
to
That's
I
what
make a
I'm-
motion to table this.
Have a motion
Same
Vice
thing.
Mayor Wiggins to table. Have a second from Mr. Fisher. All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll put that on the workshop also. Miss Yvonne, are you keeping up with me here? All right. Resolution 2346, motion to hear.
Motion to hear.
Have a motion from Mr. Wiggins. This is a resolution authorizing a deducted charge order number 2 with Wagner Construction, general contractors for the Oakland Sports Complex site, improvements in the amount of $47,575. Mr. Harvey.
Mayor Board, as you can see in your packet, the change order is attached as credit for reducing the park road length, and is for the credit for the soil cement and the binder that would have been used. So it's credit back to the town.
I have a question.
Probably can't answer it.
You probably can't, but it's something that I'd like to know. And so, right here, the decreased amount, right here, increased completion date, 63 days in the amount, but on here, I'd like to know the length that we decreased it. And I'd like to know the length that we allowed, the price per foot that it costs to make sure that I'm getting the right amount of credit on the reduction.
I believe there's a representative here from Wagner, I may be wrong.
So in other words, if the whole project originally was gonna cost $100,000, and they decreased it, and that was for 1,000 feet, and they made it 500 feet, I would expect that cost to be what, $50,000?
Mr. Henry.
Right? And so that's what I'd like to know, what the original was lengthwise, what the decrease was, and what price per foot that is compared to the completed part.
And somebody else.
Mr. Henry, would you step to the podium, please?
Do you understand my question?
Yes, sir. I thought I had included additional information. I thought from, okay, I will go back and look for that, because I think they did break it out into either a square footage or a linear footage of road. But, I'll get that to you.
Why did we put it in?
Well, we took, we used to have a map here, where the parking lot ended, we extended the road north, the park drive north to where it was gonna go west over to the baseball side. And,
This is this page.
right. and
You know how many feet that was?
It was at least 100 feet.
I would just like to know, and then I'll make a motion to table this to the next scheduled meeting.
Well, can I ask, because I don't think we should have used park funds to pay for this in the first place. And if we do get this refund, is that gonna go back into the park fund? I don't want this going to the general fund.
Okay,
I'll second Mr. Sutton's.
I have a motion from Mr. Sutton to table this to our next meeting. I have a second by Mr. Wiggins, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Henry? Would you do some research and come prepared to satisfy these gentlemen's questions?
And that'll
All
be
right.
on the 8th, Mayor, right?
Yes.
Yes,
That'll be on the 8th. That's workshop.
that's workshop.
1,800 feet.
Okay, we can't do it on the
But
workshop.
No, the code of the whole.
I thought that Jay said that he could add a special call meeting on the workshop.
Oh, we can. Yeah. We're gonna have to have we have a executive session scheduled, so we can schedule a workshop to, schedule a special meeting to answer these questions, cause
We
we
have a
need to
workshop for May 11th, right?
Yes.
Yes.
May 8th.
May 8th, okay.
Wait a minute.
We'll do a special,
Okay.
we'll have to do a special call meeting for that date also, if you want these things answered so we can vote.
Well, I mean, this is money coming to us, I just wanna make sure that it's the proper amount.
And it goes in the right place.
Shouldn't take long to have a special meeting on that. then.
The next one, yeah.
Okay. All right. So the motion is to table to our May 8th meeting. Special call meeting on May 8th.
Next call meeting, next call meeting.
The next call
That
meeting.
next call meeting will be May 8th.
Well, you can just table it, and we have to have a motion to hear when it comes up on whatever agenda it shows up on.
Okay. All right. It has been tabled. We'll see you on the 8th, Mr. Henry.
Okay, can I get clarification so I know if it goes on May 8th, it's special call, or
It doesn't matter.
it does not matter?
It will be tabled to May 8th.
Robert's Rules of Order, if you table it to a specific time, it has to come up at that time. If you just table it, you can't take it off the table unless there is a motion to hear it.
All right.
Am I wrong?
No,
I think you're right. You're right about
Okay.
Table to May 8th.
table to May 8th. Yes, ma'am. All right. Motion to hear resolution 2347.
Motion to hear.
All right, this is a resolution authorizing a change order number 3 with Wagner Construction General Contractors for Oakland Sports Complex improvements, increasing the amount by $57,005.41. Mr. Harvey, I believe you want to make some comments on this?
I do, but I'm not sure where they're going. Just a little information and defer to Mr. Henry. There are some wetlands spots on that property, as you guys are aware of, and the geotechnical consultant recommended some undercutting. There's some bad soil left there. So my original recommendation was going to be to defer this to the next phase of the park and not spend the money, which has change order has increased by $5,000 to $61,941. My question to Mr. Henry this morning was, is there infrastructure yet to be installed in that particular area? And he said there is. There are drain pipes and basins that need to be installed in that area, so the work needs to be done, so the infrastructure can be installed. Is that correct?
Correct, and paved.
And this is like .267 acre, is that what
This
we're
is the
talking about?
larger one, but it's about that size, yes, sir. And I want to clarify, this is not it says, it's listed as increase in the contract amount. This does not increase the contract amount. This is specifically why the contingency was included in the project budget. So this money will be taken from the contingency. It is not an increase in the contract.
Well, let me ask a question, because this, on my resolution, it says $57,005.41. On the total for this, it says $62,560.41. That's a $5,000 difference.
Yes.
Where's
Finder's fee?
Because of where it is and the construction that has gone on out there, that's all that's left to do is, they can't do anything until this is done, and there's nothing else to do until this is done. And so, this issue was brought up approximately 2 weeks ago, and we had to wait for this meeting to see if this was approved or not. And so in the meantime, Wagner had to demobilize, because there's nothing else to do until we got this done. So they had to take their crews and go somewhere else, and now they're having, if this gets approved, they're going to have to bring the crews back, basically demobilize, remobilize, and just come back out here. So that additional $5,000 is for that.
It's called communication costing you money, that's what it's called. All we'd had to do is the mayor said we need to have a special meeting. Because of this, we could have saved ourselves that demobilization by meeting up here. May could have made it for the work session if it was 2 weeks ago.
Well, are we paying $57,000 or $62,000?
62.
61,941. $1,940.
Money's there, right? The money's there,
The
right?
money's there,
Yeah, it's in their contingency.
it's in the contingency, there's no increase.
Can I ask, when you say
So-
contingency, is that a retainage, that we got sitting?
No, we had,
Okay, I got you.
So we don't have to pay more money. This is just coming out of the extra money that we paid for when stuff like this comes up.
Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve, I have a second.
Second.
Have a second, Mr. Cates, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Got an abstain on Mr. Fisher. Ms. Vaughn. Passes 4 with 1 abstention. Resolution 2348. Motion to hear.
Motion to hear.
This is a resolution authorizing bid for office copiers to award. Ms. Vaughn, you want to talk on this?
As we have discussed in the past, we have a 36-month or 3-year contract that is about to expire. We have reached out to, or we placed a bid packet out, and we did not have but one, bid turned in. It is actually from the same company that we are dealing with now. And on this, we have added a total of 2 machines, and we're replacing one of our machines that we would currently have with the black and white, with the color, I'm sorry.
Is this in the budget?
This will be in the budget, this will be in the budget.
For next year?
Yes, we have money sitting in the current budget for our contracts now. We're good. But this will carry over for years.
And so, the name of the current provider was XMC, but now they're gonna be called in the contract, the Visual Edge
That is
IT.
correct. Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha.
Do we pay this monthly fee and then we also pay per copies?
We do, we only pay by the amount of copies that we make. And if they're black and white, they're charged at the, .068 cents, and then if they're color, they're .0421, 425.
And this is a lease agreement?
It is a lease agreement.
And what would the cost difference be for us to buy a copier?
I do not check into buying copiers.
They are very expensive. Very.
I just know the maintenance, because they do all of the maintenance, they supply all the toners and stuff.
Yep.
It's one of the only things that our company that we won't touch, we lease.
Yep.
Have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Vice Mayor Williams. Have a second.
Second.
Have a second, Ms. Humble. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, wait a minute, got Mr. Sutton?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton opposes. 4 to 1. All right, moving on to resolution 2349. This is one of the 3 we brought tonight. All right, this is, do I have a motion to hear? 2349.
Can you look at
Motion
that?
to hear.
Which one am I hearing? Because I have
That's
2 of them.
Kustoff.
Custoff, 2349.
Okay.
Okay.
Because this one says 2349 too, and it's credit card policy. I told you my packet was a shambles.
Okay.
And I changed that to 2351 because there was a question about it not being on the agenda by me to Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson never replied, and it was discovered that it never got put on the agenda.
I understand.
So the credit card one is 2351.
51. It's
Gotcha.
in the new handout from
It's in the
tonight.
new handouts tonight.
Gotcha.
You'll get it. It's just got a different title.
I'm gonna stick that over
Okay.
there.
Have a motion to hear resolution 2349.
Motion.
Have a motion from Mr. Fisher. This is a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the town of Oakland, Tennessee, authorizing discussion with Congressman David Kustoff and federal officials regarding the postal service improvements of the town of Oakland. This comes from me, ladies and gentlemen. I had the opportunity to visit with the representative, Congressman, And we talked about this as we have talked many times, and some of you have talked many times with him. He requested a resolution. So this is why you have the resolution.
And you know, we lobby him all the time trying to get this, but a resolution from the town that went through the board will carry a lot more weight.
Make a motion.
Have a motion from Mr. Case. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Fisher. All in favor?
Aye.
No, any opposed? Passes. All right, moving on to resolution 2350. Motion to hear.
Motion.
Have a motion from Mr. Fisher. This is a resolution of the town of Oakland, Tennessee, providing authorization for the banking transaction with official depositories of the town. Ms. Laura, this is a bid, this is the motion to do the bid, is that correct?
No.
No, it's not? Okay.
Signatures.
This is-
Signatures.
Oh, this is the motion to get Mr. Wiggins' signature. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Make a motion to hear, make a motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it passes. Mr. Wiggins, you're on the hook.
Well, keep a copy of my signature for when I'm famous.
All right, moving on to resolution 2351. Motion to hear.
Motion to hear.
A resolution amending the credit card policy. Okay, this is the one, Ms. Laura, you want to talk about?
Well, we had, approved at the 20,000, and so, at that time, we were short the 2 department directors. So now that we have them added, I was going to add them to the card, and, Jay suggested we just, instead of inching it up, just make it 30,000. And that gets all the directors plus Jay. The credit card. So it's
Well,
increasing it.
just because we're increasing it, will the bank agree to our increase?
Yes, they have,
D-
they've already agreed.
So they've agreed, so that's the 30,000.
I noticed that each department has its own limit. Is that set on their card, or is that something that we just monitor?
Like when they get their card, it does say on there that you know, on the piece of paper that this is your limit, but as long as we don't go over the 30, you know, I don't wanna say that, but everybody just be responsible.
Yeah, all the directors are here. You don't want to say that.
Just, you know, we just wanted to ease into this and see
Yeah.
how it was gonna work, and so far, so
I think if we trust directors to run departments, we can trust them to stay under a credit
I do,
limit.
and I think by that point, do we include their names or just their titles? Because are we gonna have to have a new
What is on the
resolution
card?
every time we change positions?
Well,
I think it was required, was it not required by the bank that names were put on the cards?
Okay.
Yeah, they had to have the name on there, and it says Town of Oakland on the card.
The name on the card,
Because when you do
with the resolution, didn't have to include names, does
Right,
it?
I actually asked that question as it was coming through our office for approval, so
Does the bank require a resolution?
It does require a resolution, but it didn't say names. It was just that.
I'm just saying, we're gonna have to do a new resolution every time a department head changes.
That
We
is
pass this
exactly right.
resolution the way it is tonight.
so the way,
so
you could change it by putting the name of the current, position
Or
holder. but
replacement.
You could word the, language of the resolution to not, to establish it by position, not by individual.
but the name would still be on the card.
Right.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve this resolution with adding the language that
Position.
Mr. Minor recommended.
Have a motion to approve with added language from our attorney.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Laura, y'all can work that out. All right, I believe that is all of our,
No?
we're down to, business items.
Yes.
Okay. A, acknowledging TDEC letter approving the town of Oakland ARP non-collaborative grant application for wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation and expansion of property in the amount of $1,002,693.71. Mr. Harvey.
Yes, sir. In your package, I believe the mayor
think there's much to that. They're gonna give it to us when they give it to us.
That's right.
Okay,
No action needed, right?
no action needed, just information. Moving to B, acknowledgement letter, receipt of letter from Team West on non-renewal of residential solid waste agreement. Harvey?
Yes, sir, you guys are aware, as mentioned earlier, I believe January 2nd, 2024, this current contract expires. I would like to let you know I've been gathering some information and regarding the assets that we would need or estimated costs, and I'd like to present that at the workshop as well.
Okay.
Information purposes only, if the board chooses to entertain that thought. I'll have some numbers for you.
After talking to some people, we're gonna have to have a contract, because there's no way for us to even get trucks built to start this program when this contract expires.
That is true. We'll tell you that Harvey and I are talking to the federal government right now, trying to find out about some programs they have available for electric vehicles. And we'll try to, if we get that information, we'll include that in the workshop too for you to think about. Okay, moving on, C. Oh, by the way, Harvey, I hope that we can encourage them to fulfill the remainder of their contract. I think I'm kind of blowing in the wind there, but they need to live up to their contract.
I agree.
C. Acknowledgement of receipt, receipt of letter from Comptroller's Office on 23 appraisal. We are currently doing some follow-up with them now, asking for in-depth regulation, and we'll have this at your May 8th meeting. So we'll let you know that we'll have the information for you on that May 8th. Then, acknowledgement of Town Hall Police Building Process Preliminary Site Schematic Plan. Harvey?
Don't have much on that, Mayor.
Okay. Well, I think Jay wanted to let you know that she is moving forward with the schematic plan, and she will be presenting some information at a future meeting.
Mayor, I've got something on this.
Okay.
After our workshop, I started thinking, and I would like, if you go back to our original, we had a big discussion about moving a creek because it would give us a much larger area to build a building. And we're building this building so that we don't have to build another one, hopefully for another 50 or 100 years. By not moving the creek, the other option was don't move the creek and make two separate buildings. So we still have plenty of room at the town hall and plenty of room at the police station. Well, if we're not going to move the creek, but we're still going to have both entities in one building, we're losing a lot of space. We're losing a lot of square footage here. And I know that we took some space somewhere else and did it different, but
Okay.
I just want the board to think about that between now and our next workshop, because even with the expansion that is possible in the future, we're losing a lot of space, and if we do this, I don't want to have to build another building in another 20, 25 years.
Okay, my understanding is she's gonna be bringing 3 drawings. And that's just strictly for discussion, and at that time, you can present your concerns.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any other comments on that?
Well, it's my understanding, Mr. Mayor, that when they presented all that discussion up here with the chart, we talked about it, moving the stream, not moving the stream, blah, 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 blah. We never voted on anything at that point anyway, whether we're gonna move the stream or not move the stream, so.
We have not voted on it.
I know we were doing some, I haven't heard back from the report of looking for those Indian arrowheads or bodies buried on there yet. I'd like to find out that 12 grand that we spent and authorized for that, what have we heard back from that before we decide? It'll dictate whether we can move the stream or not move the stream if we come up with some Indian on there.
That's a
So
good
we need
point,
that
and I think
before we
that'll be
vote on
Part
it.
of the discussion on the 8th.
Thank you, sir.
As you said, we have not voted on it.
We have not voted.
Okay. All right. Any other items of business, Mr. Bond?
I would like to add one thing to the workshop, if I may.
Okay, sir.
I really think we need to look at, starting our own natural gas department. I think it's something we need to start talking about.
I've talked to Mr. Johnson about that a couple of times, and that is a moneymaker for your town.
Okay, Mr. Vaughn, would you put on there the initiated discussion on natural gas? Okay? Do we have any credit applications?
None.
Have none there. Approval of invoices.
We have two. One is for Parks and Rec, it's a summertime blues, heat and air, that is over 45 days. And the second one is from the police department, which is Wilkerson Remodel. It did not get a PO because it was kind of confusing in the fact that it was an insurance claim and insurance paid for.
Okay.
And what was that for?
Just for
Where they
consistency.
fell through the ceiling, I think.
Yeah. And for consistency, I just wanted to put it on here because there was no PO.
I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve invoices. I have a second from Mr. Fisher. I have a motion from Mr. Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I didn't even have to ask you, Mr. Kelly. Good for you. We're done. What time is it?
9:30.
No,
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Hey, Mr. Harvey. I'd like the clock to show 9 o'clock.
This is what you're talking about, right? See, that line there, we do have it. This is the revenue.
You made a good night there, Mr. Ed.
Oh,
You just
park
had paper
fee.
sale on it.
13.
So we got 91,000 in there.
Carol, I'll sign anything you want to makes you happy and gets me happy.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna show you that, see subdivision development park fees. It's on there.
Only 13,000?
That's for the.
What year? Okay, what year? Okay, what year did this
How
start?
are you?
Current.